In this video, we delve into the intriguing story of Amelia, a young woman who stumbled upon a terrifying reality after the seemingly harmless TikTok app. So sit back, grab some popcorn, and get ready for a spine-tingling ride into the unknown. This is the TikTok conspiracy theory that came true. Amelia sat at her desk, her eyes glued to the screen of her smartphone as she scrolled through her TikTok feed. As a successful social media influencer with thousands of followers, she was always on the lookout for inspiration for her next video. But as she scrolled, something caught her eye. A video with a title that piqued her curiosity, the TikTok conspiracy theory that came true. Intrigued, Amelia clicked on the video and watched as a young woman with a serious expression on her face began to speak. The woman explained that a shadowy group was monitoring and controlling people's lives through social media. She spoke of algorithms that were designed to keep people hooked and of social media platforms that were designed to gather information about their users and use it to influence their behavior. At first, Amelia dismissed the theory as just another internet hoax. But as she continued to watch, she became increasingly fascinated. The woman in the video presented compelling evidence that suggested there may be more truth to the theory than Amelia had originally thought. As the video ended, Amelia felt a sense of unease wash over her. She couldn't shake the feeling that there was something sinister lurking just beneath the surface of the online world. She knew she had to investigate further. Amelia spent the next few days researching the theory, reading everything she could find on the subject. She reached out to experts and fellow social media influencers, trying to get a better understanding of the situation. As she dug deeper, she began to notice strange patterns in her own social media use. She would find herself scrolling through her feed for hours, unable to tear herself away from the screen. She began to wonder if the shadowy group was monitoring her too. Despite her fears, Amelia couldn't resist the pull of social media. She continued to post videos and interact with her followers, all the while keeping one eye on the conspiracy theory that had taken hold of her mind. Little did she know that her investigation would lead her down a path of danger and intrigue, and that the shadowy group she was investigating was far more powerful than she ever could have imagined. Amelia's investigation into the TikTok conspiracy theory was consuming her thoughts. She was constantly on the lookout for any signs that the shadowy group was monitoring her activity on social media. She was even starting to have strange dreams about being trapped inside her phone. One day, Amelia received a mysterious package in the mail. It was a small box wrapped in brown paper with no return address. Amelia's curiosity was piqued, and she tore open the package to reveal a strange-looking device. The device was a small black box with a blinking red light. It had no identifying marks or labels, and Amelia had no idea what it was or who it was from. She hesitated for a moment, wondering if the device was some sort of tracking device sent by the shadowy group she was investigating. But her curiosity got the best of her, and she decided to turn the device on. As soon as she flipped the switch, the device sprang to life, emitting a high-pitched whine that made her ears ring. She quickly turned it off, but not before she noticed a message on the screen. The message was in a language she didn't recognize, but there was something about it that sent shivers down her spine. It was as if the message was speaking directly to her, warning her to stay away from the investigation. Amelia couldn't shake the feeling that the shadowy group was sending her a message, but she couldn't decipher what it meant. She decided to take the device to a tech expert to see if they could help her figure out what it was and who it was from. As she left her apartment, Amelia felt a sense of unease wash over her. She couldn't shake the feeling that she was being watched, that every move she made was being monitored by the shadowy group, but she was determined to get to the bottom of the mystery, no matter what it took. She took a deep breath and headed out into the world, ready to face whatever dangers lay ahead. Amelia arrived at the tech expert's office, a small, dingy room filled with computer parts and wires. The expert was a scruffy-looking man in his 40s, with a thick beard and a nerdy demeanor. She showed him the mysterious device she had received in the mail, and he examined it closely, muttering to himself as he poked and prodded at it. After a few minutes of tinkering, he turned to her with a puzzled expression. "I've never seen anything like this before," he said. "It's not like any computer or electronic device I've ever seen." Amelia's heart sank. She had hoped the tech expert would be able to help her figure out what the device was and who had sent it. But now she was more confused than ever. "Can you at least tell me what the message on the screen means?" she asked, showing him a picture she had taken of the strange language. The tech expert studied the message for a few moments before shaking his head. "Sorry, I don't recognize that language. It's like nothing I've ever seen before." Amelia's frustration was mounting. She had hit a dead end, and she didn't know where to turn next. She thanked the tech expert and left his office, feeling more discouraged than ever. As she walked back to her apartment, she couldn't shake the feeling that she was being followed. She kept glancing over her shoulder, but there was no one there. When she got back to her apartment, she immediately locked the door and sat down at her computer. She had a sudden urge to check her TikTok account to see if there were any new clues or messages from the shadowy group. As she scrolled through her feed, she noticed something strange. A new video had been posted by an account she didn't recognize. It was a short, cryptic video with no sound, just a series of flashing images. Amelia felt a chill run down her spine as she watched the video. It was like nothing she had ever seen before, and she couldn't shake the feeling that it was somehow connected to the mysterious device she had received in the mail. She decided to reach out to some of her online contacts to see if anyone had any information about the shadowy group or the strange language on the device. She knew it was risky, but she was desperate for answers. Amelia spent the next few days scouring the internet, searching for any clues or leads on the mysterious group that had sent her the strange device. She reached out to friends and online contacts, but no one had any useful information. Just when she was about to give up hope, she received a message from an anonymous user on one of her social media accounts. The message contained a link to a website along with a cryptic message: "Follow the trail." Amelia clicked the link, and it led her to a website that was unlike anything she had ever seen before. It was filled with strange symbols and coded messages, but she couldn't make sense of any of it. As she scrolled through the site, she noticed something strange. The same symbols that were on the mysterious device she'd received in the mail were also on the website. It was like a piece of the puzzle was finally starting to come together. Amelia spent hours poring over the website, trying to decipher the coded messages and symbols. She was so engrossed in her work that she didn't notice the time slipping away. It wasn't until the sun had set and the room had grown dark that she realized how much time had passed. She was about to shut off her computer and call it a night when she noticed something strange in the corner of her screen. It was a small notification from her TikTok account. Someone had sent her a message. She clicked on the notification and read the message, her heart racing. It was a message from the same anonymous user who had sent her the link to the website. The message contained another cryptic message, along with a location and a time. Amelia knew that she had to investigate. She quickly packed a bag and headed out into the night, following the trail that had been laid out for her. She had no idea what she would find at the location, but she was determined to get to the bottom of the mystery once and for all. Amelia arrived at the location that had been given to her in the message. It was an abandoned warehouse on the outskirts of town, and it looked like it hadn't been used in years. As she approached the entrance, she felt a shiver run down her spine. She had no idea what to expect inside, but she knew that she had to find out what was going on. She cautiously pushed open the door and stepped inside. The warehouse was dark and musty, and she could barely make out anything in the gloom. Suddenly, she heard a noise. It sounded like someone was moving around in the shadows. Her heart began to race as she tried to pinpoint where the noise was coming from. Then, a figure emerged from the darkness. It was a man, dressed in black, with a hood pulled over his head. He walked towards Amelia, and she could see that he was holding something in his hand. "Are you the one who's been sending me all these messages?" she asked. trying to keep her voice steady. The man didn't say anything. Instead, he held out the object he was holding in his hand. It was a small black box, just like the one that had been mailed to her. Amelia's heart skipped a beat as she realized that she was getting closer to the truth. She took the box from the man and examined it closely. It was identical to the one she had received in the mail. "What is this thing?" she asked, looking up at the man. "It's a key," he replied, his voice low and gravelly. "A key to the truth." Amelia felt a surge of excitement as she realized that she was finally getting somewhere. She had no idea what the man meant by a key to the truth, but she knew that she was one step closer to uncovering the mystery. "What do I do with it?" she asked, holding up the box. "Take it to the location written on the note inside," the man said, before disappearing back into the shadows. Amelia stood there for a moment, feeling a mix of fear and excitement. She knew that she was getting in over her head, but she couldn't resist the thrill of the chase. She slipped the box into her pocket and headed back out into the night, ready to follow the next clue. Amelia followed the instructions in the note inside the black box and made her way to an abandoned factory on the outskirts of town. The factory was a massive, dilapidated building that loomed over the surrounding landscape. As she approached the entrance, she could see that the door was slightly ajar. She pushed it open and stepped inside, feeling a chill run down her spine. The interior of the factory was dark and dusty, and she could barely see where she was going. She cautiously made her way deeper into the building, following the faint light from her flashlight. She soon found herself in a large, open room that was filled with strange machinery and equipment. The air was thick with the smell of oil and rust. As she explored the room, she noticed that there were several pieces of equipment that had been left running. It was strange. As there was no one else around, she could feel a sense of unease creeping over her as she tried to figure out what was going on. Suddenly, she heard a noise behind her. She turned around and saw a figure moving in the shadows. Her heart skipped a beat as she tried to make out who it was. "Who's there?" she called out, her voice shaking. There was no reply, but she could see the figure moving closer. She raised her flashlight and shone it in their direction, revealing a man in a dark hooded coat. The man didn't say anything, but she could see a smirk on his face. He slowly pulled something out of his pocket and held it up for her to see. It was a small, black device with a red button on it. Without warning, he pressed the button, and the room was suddenly filled with a blinding light. Amelia stumbled backwards, trying to shield her eyes from the intense glare. When the light faded, she could see that the man had disappeared. She looked around the room, trying to get her bearings, but everything had changed. The machinery was gone, and the room was now filled with strange, otherworldly structures. Amelia couldn't believe what she was seeing. She was caught up in something far beyond her understanding, and she knew that there was no turning back now. Amelia stumbled forward, still trying to get her bearings in the strange, otherworldly landscape. The structures around her were like nothing she had ever seen before. They were made of a strange, shimmering material that seemed to glow from within. As she looked closer, she realized that the structures were covered in strange symbols and markings. They seemed to be written in a language that she couldn't understand. Suddenly, she heard a faint whispering sound. It was like 1,000 voices all speaking at once, but she couldn't make out what they were saying. The sound grew louder and louder until it was almost deafening. Amelia clutched her ears, trying to block it out, but it was no use. The voices were inside her head. As the whispering reached a crescendo, Amelia felt a strange sensation wash over her. It was like she was being pulled in 1,000,000 different directions at once. She tried to fight it, but the sensation was too strong. Her body began to convulse as she was pulled through some kind of vortex. The next thing she knew, she was standing in a completely different place. She looked around, disoriented, trying to figure out where she was. It was like she was in a different dimension altogether. The sky above her was a sickly shade of green, and the ground was covered in a strange purple moss. The air was thick with a putrid smell, like rotting flesh. It was unlike anything Amelia had ever experienced before, and she felt a wave of nausea wash over her. As she stumbled forward, trying to get her bearings, she noticed a figure in the distance. It was a tall, dark figure that seemed to be moving closer. As it got closer, Amelia could see that it was not human. Its skin was a sickly shade of green, and its eyes glowed with an otherworldly light. The creature didn't say anything, but it moved closer and closer until it was right in front of Amelia. She could feel its hot breath on her face as it leaned in close. For a moment, Amelia thought she was going to die. But then the creature pulled back and began to speak in a strange, guttural language. Amelia couldn't understand what it was saying, but she could sense that it was angry. It seemed to be accusing her of something, but she had no idea what. As the creature continued to speak, Amelia felt a strange sensation in her pocket. She reached in and pulled out her phone, surprised to see that she had a message from an unknown number. The message was short and to the point. Run. Amelia didn't need to be told twice. She turned and ran as fast as she could, with the creature hot on her heels. Amelia ran as fast as she could, her heart pounding in her chest. The creature was close behind her, its long, gnarled fingers reaching out to grab her. She could hear its heavy breaths and the sound of its feet pounding against the ground. She knew she had to keep running or she would be caught. As she ran, Amelia looked around, trying to find a way out of this strange dimension. She saw a faint glow in the distance and headed towards it, hoping it would lead her to safety. But the creature was fast, and it was gaining on her quickly. Amelia could feel its breath on the back of her neck, and she knew she had to do something drastic. Without thinking, she reached into her pocket and pulled out her phone. She aimed it at the creature and hit record. As the creature reached out to grab her, Amelia hit the share button and sent the video to every contact in her phone. The creature stopped in its tracks, confused by the sudden appearance of the glowing screen. Amelia took the opportunity to run even faster, putting as much distance between herself and the creature as she could. As she ran, Amelia could hear her phone buzzing incessantly. She knew her friends and family were all watching the video, and she hoped they would be able to help her. Suddenly, she saw a faint light in the distance. It was like a beacon of hope, and she ran towards it with all her might. As she got closer, Amelia saw that the light was coming from a portal of some kind. It looked like a rip in the fabric of space and time, and she knew it was her only way out. She ran towards the portal, ignoring the pain in her legs and the burning sensation in her lungs. She knew she had to make it through, or she would be trapped in this otherworldly dimension forever. Just as she was about to reach the portal, the creature grabbed her ankle. Amelia fell to the ground, but she didn't give up. She kicked at the creature with all her might, and it released its grip. Amelia scrambled to her feet and ran towards the portal once more. She made it through just as the creature reached out to grab her again. She stumbled forward, almost falling through the portal, but she managed to catch herself just in time. As she looked back, Amelia saw the creature disappearing into the distance. She knew she had narrowly escaped, and she was grateful for the help of her friends and family. But she also knew that she had stumbled onto something big, something that could change the world forever. She had to find out more about the TikTok conspiracy theory, and she had to do it fast. After her narrow escape from the otherworldly dimension, Amelia was determined to uncover the truth behind the TikTok conspiracy theory. She spent weeks researching and investigating, poring over every bit of information she could find. Finally, she came across a small group of people who claimed to have inside knowledge of the conspiracy. They agreed to meet with her, but only under the condition of complete anonymity. At the meeting, Amelia learned the shocking truth. The TikTok app had been created by a group of rogue scientists who were experimenting with a new form of technology that allowed them to manipulate space and time. They had used the app to collect data from millions of users around the world, using the information to tune their technology and perfect their abilities. But things had gone horribly wrong. The scientists had accidentally created a rift in the fabric of space and time, opening a portal to another dimension. The creatures that had been trapped in that dimension had managed to break through, causing chaos and destruction in the world. The anonymous sources revealed that the scientists were now working tirelessly to close the portal and undo the damage they had caused. But they also warned Amelia that there were those within the group who were more interested in using their newfound abilities for their own gain, regardless of the consequences. Amelia knew that she had to act fast. She contacted the authorities and provided them with the information she had uncovered. The scientists were apprehended, and their technology was destroyed. The world slowly began to return to normal, and the creatures from the other dimension were banished back to where they came from. But Amelia couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to the story. She continued to investigate, and she eventually uncovered evidence that suggested the rogue scientists weren't working alone. There was a shadowy organization behind the conspiracy, one that had been pulling the strings from the very beginning. Amelia knew that she had to dig deeper, but she also knew that it would be dangerous. As she closed her laptop and got up from her desk, Amelia made a decision. She would continue to investigate, no matter the cost. She was determined to uncover the truth and make sure that nothing like this ever happened again. As she walked out into the world, Amelia knew that the darkness was always lurking, just beneath the surface. But she was ready to face it, no matter what. The truth was out there, waiting to be uncovered, and she was the only one brave enough to find it.